Welcome back to Here's the Things Oktoberfest. We're celebrating all things spooky and chilly throughout horror season this year, leading up to Halloween. And I'm here to talk to you guys about a classic animated horror film, Perfect Blue, back out in theaters right now. Perfect Blue follows a pop idol in 90s Japan who, at the insistence of her agents, decides to leave the music world behind and pursue a career as a film and TV actress. And we follow the early days in this new career as she adjusts and makes decisions about roles and balancing her past with who she wants to be in the future, coming of age in the art world, all while dealing with an increasingly aggressive stalker who is very not happy with her new career choice. Perfect Blue is from acclaimed anime director Satoshi Kon. You might know him from Paprika, an inspiration for Inception, or Tokyo Godfathers, or Millennium Actress. I'm not very familiar with anime myself, but even I know Satoshi Kon. He's made so many of the most acclaimed films in the anime medium. Not a huge filmography, but everything he's made has just been really incredible. And this is no exception. The animation is just gorgeous. It's newly remastered in 4K, and I was very impressed by it. The color is just jaw-dropping. You have those reds of the blood splattering on the walls, mixing in with the saturated sound of city skylines, those sunsets. Very gorgeous movie, and the color plays such an important part in this movie. So to nail that color in the restoration, I feel is very important, and they nailed it to me. Perfect Blue is easily his most cited work in terms of filmmakers being influenced by it. People like David Lynch and Christopher Nolan and James Wan, I think, all owe a very obvious debt to Perfect Blue. And you can tell why when you watch it. It's very cinematic. There's these detailed close-ups that are super expressive, super emotional. It really invests you in the character's pain. You have these slow fades and these pans and these zooms that are so clearly mimicking camera movements, stuff that an animated drawing wouldn't do, but is obviously influenced by Hollywood filmmaking. So to me, that probably is why this movie resonates with people who are maybe not familiar with anime like me, or like a lot of the filmmakers mentioned who are not big anime guys but loved this. I mentioned the imagery is gorgeous here, but I was honestly most blown away by the sound design. These just screaming, deafening crowd scenes at these concerts contrasted so starkly with the silence of her bedroom. There's this great radio scene in the parking garage where you hear the echoing music kind of eerily throughout this whole garage. Really effective sound design. When you think of anime and animation, you don't necessarily always think of the sound design. You usually tend to go with the images and maybe the music, but to me the sound design was what really blew me away here. It does a lot of work to get you within Mima's perspective and trap you in her turmoil and her very unstable emotional state. You end up as lost as she is. There's these very strange transitions between scenes in the sound that make you very disoriented, and you begin to lose track of what's really happening and where is where and who is who, exactly like the character losing track of her own life and who she is. Scenes start to blur from fiction to reality very seamlessly, and the sound does a lot of the carrying there. In terms of themes, there's so much to grab onto here, but I was most engaged by its technology and internet questions. It was very ahead of its time in the 90s to be talking about radicalization and internet rabbit holes and the dangers of parasocial relationships and isolation, and how a system that does connect us across the world can isolate us and turn us into the worst versions of ourselves. The internet is a place where you can put on any persona you want, and you can be anyone, you can be anything, you can surrender your past, make up your own past if you really want to, and there's a lot of good, there's also a lot of danger in that too. The film focuses on the rapid technology integration in Mima's life. Cameras are everywhere, and even in her most intimate moments, she cannot truly feel alone. She cannot truly feel unwatched. And when you're being watched in your home, in the shops, in the streets, when you're always online, you're always having to perform. You're always having to put on a face 24/7. You can never really be alone. And when you can never really be alone, you can never really know yourself. You can never see who you are without the performative elements of someone watching you. And as we become more camera oriented and more digital and more online, we're always watched. At that point, you can never truly know who you are. You can never truly know what's real, and especially as AI starts to take over the internet, the distinction between fiction and reality is just completely blurred now, and getting even more worse almost by the day as AI technology advances. Of course, filmmakers in the 90s couldn't really be talking about AI as we know it today, but this film is definitely warning us about the perils of just jumping headfirst into an online reality, and we clearly did not listen. We clearly learned the wrong lessons from this film. I don't even have to tell you, when you look at the news today, there's several examples of the results of radicalization online, and this movie, many decades earlier, warned us about going too far into that. To me, this thing's an absolute masterpiece. It's a straight up 10 out of 10. I tried to go through and be critical and find stuff that I didn't like. Like maybe there's a trope here or there that doesn't necessarily age well, but it was decades ago. When you're dealing with very touchy themes, it of course is not going to age maybe perfectly in every single sense, but this is such a accomplishment in the visual, such an accomplishment in the audio, such an accomplishment accomplishment and the thematic ambition here. It's hard not to see this thing as one of the best animated movies of all time. And like I said, I'm not super familiar with anime, so if you have recommendations, let me know in the comments for sure. I'd love to get out of my comfort zone and check out some anime horror this season. So if you know stuff that might be up my alley, let me know in the comments, and let me know if you're a big anime fan. Let me know if you love this movie. And like I said, we're reviewing a bunch of stuff here on Here's the Thing. Our horror season is just barely beginning. We have daily videos, whether it's shorts or full reviews, reviewing horror movies, horror TV shows. We even reviewed a horror video game on this channel. So if you love horror and you want to get through all the nooks and crannies of the genres of horror, check out Here's the Thing this month. Thank you guys so much for watching. Give us a like if you liked this. Let me know what you thought in the comments. And as always, keep watching those horror movies.